Hello, Steve Savage here with another video log. This one's going to cover a technique I call Stereotype-Fu. It's the art of turning stereotypes you experience on the job or professionally about being a geek to your advantage. It's based on a series of columns I did at www.fandapro.com, and I think you'll enjoy it. After all, we're geeks, we're used to being stereotyped, but we're also used to applying those minds of ours to solving all sorts of problems. So, let's get to the techniques. So, what is Stereotype-Fu, as I call it? This is turning stereotypes that may affect you, the professional geek, and turning them to your advantage. It's basically about taking control of how people may label you and using it so it actually benefits you by helping people see you differently, helping you connect with them, and in some cases just expressing yourself. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, first of all, because it's going to happen. You're going to get stereotyped. Geeks like us do get stereotyped, really, and that's just the way it goes. But it's also a way to change how people regard us geeks. Once you use Stereotype-Fu to sort of turn stereotypes around, people will look at you differently, and they will look at other people like you differently. Oh, and the other reason is because it's really kind of fun to take stereotypes that we've been dealing with and turn them to our advantage. What can I say? I enjoy that kind of mental social engineering. Now, the first form of Stereotype-Fu is actually picking your own stereotype. If people are stereotyping you as a geek, a gamer, a football maniac, whatever, pick a stereotype that's actually positive and run with it. Pick something positive. You know, people label you a geek, well, pick the idea that, yeah, you're a geek, but you're the smart geek, you're the science geek, you're the creative geek. You're the kind of person that really gets into football, well, maybe you're the historian, or the guy that goes out there and actually plays and is pretty buff. Whatever you get stereotyped with, pick a positive version of it and actually use it. If you're going to get labeled by people, direct it towards one that is positive. That's something I've seen many people do by outright saying they're blatant geeks and they're geeks about X, and it provides these advantages. So go ahead, pick your own stereotype. A bit of a more complex form of picking your own stereotype is to actually pick a kind of archetype and identify it. If you're familiar with Jungian psychology or loads of BS-y pop psychology or whatever, you know the basic idea of archetypes. They're sort of deep ideas and concepts that people have and they think about things. They're useful if you adapt them as labels for yourself because they have less sense of the other. So what you can do is kind of pick an archetype, much as you might pick a stereotype, and divert attempts to stereotype you into that archetype. You're the geek that people make fun of because you're so smart. Well, maybe you can be like the wise man, or the trickster, or the creative wild artist that gets things done. If people stereotype you for being an artist, are you the archetypical artist that's very, very creative and wild? Are you the deep artist that kind of gets into human psychology? Whatever. Pick an archetype and direct people towards thinking of you that way. It's a little difficult and can come off as pretentious and less humorous as just picking a standard stereotype, but it's also something that makes people think about you differently. So consider the idea of picking a sort of archetype and identifying with it as well. Just stay away from kind of BS-y pop psychology. Have a little dignity there. The third form of Stereotype-Fu is having a sense of humor about how you're being labeled. Now this only works if people aren't being deliberately nasty, but this method is to basically laugh about your own stereotypical behavior and direct it to your positive points. If people say, oh, you're such a nerd for being into computers, yeah, that's just kind of the way I am. But hey, it pays the bills, right? If they note you're really into comic books, you can always have a laugh back, oh yeah, people think that's kind of weird, but me, it's really where a lot of stuff's happening. Look at all those movies out there. Have a bit of a laugh about it, but direct it towards a positive point. This shows self-awareness, so people realize that this is you, but it also helps them become more self-aware. They're labeling you, but you've helped them see it differently by having a laugh, and not being defensive about it shows that you've embraced it. And that helps them see you differently, and maybe see themselves a little bit differently and ask why they've been labeling you. The fourth form of Stereotype-Fu goes very well with number 3, the sense of humor, and that's finding the positive side of your geekiness. Now, if people are mentioning your stereotypes, you can always bring out, yeah, that pays the bills, or yeah, that makes me happy, or yeah, I go to conventions dressed as Sephiroth and fangirls are hanging on me left and right. Whatever you do, as a geek, emphasize that positive point when people are stereotyping you. That's useful if it appears people aren't sure they get you, and might help disarm them from using negative stereotypes. Now, in some cases, if people are trying to be deliberately nasty, this might be a little bit harder, but at the same time, it disarms things and kind of makes the point that, yeah, you may be a geek of some kind, but there are real benefits, especially that whole making a lot of money and/or dressed as Sephiroth thing. Number 5 in our Stereotype-Fu techniques is drawing people in. Now let's say you got a person who's kind of stereotyping you as a geek, but they're already kind of geeky themselves. Draw them into your world, building on your common interests to show how you're alike. If someone mentions, man, you're obsessed with gaming a lot, you know they're a bit of a gamer, team up, go play some Team Fortress 2 together or something. Emphasize that your gaming obsession means you're going to be a great person to partner up with. Whatever. Do something to draw people into your more geeky world. It shows you in a positive light and helps them be less negative about you and themselves. So go ahead and try to draw people into your own geeky world, especially if it looks like the people stereotyping you have similar interests. Now, number 6 out of our Stereotype-Fu techniques is being yourself. And this is not just, hey, be yourself as people tell you and they don't admit it. This is being yourself to the hilt. Go take control of your image and over-geek yourself by doing it as much as you want and as much as you feel comfortable within reason. Now, doing this shows confidence. It shows you taking control of your images and helps you kind of wear down people who are stereotyping you and making fun of you for being geeky. It doesn't work in every situation, but I find in a lot of cases it's actually pretty positive because you are so much yourself that no one really can define you. And when you're proud of it, people that might think of your geekiness negatively start thinking a lot differently. Stereotype-Fu technique number 7, be evolved. If people are going to label you, or you are self-labeled or both, take it to the next level. Define yourself as an evolved version of the classic stereotype or archetype. You're not just crazy for baseball, you're a historian for baseball. You're not just a gamer, you are a game connoisseur. You are not just a computer enthusiast, you are a computer philosopher. Whatever. Take it from me, I call myself Geek 2.0, the next stage of geek evolution, the professional geek. I've taken this and owned my own image by having a term for myself that is basically geek evolved. So if you're going to get stereotyped and you have a stereotype people use for you that you kind of like, create the next level and label yourself that way and be proud of it. The final Stereotype-Fu technique is bringing people along. Now this is meant for when you're dealing with people that are definitely not geeky like you are. The kind of people might have some similar interests. These are people that really don't get what you do. Take time to introduce them to things you like that they may also enjoy. Bring them along into your world. You may like anime, they may like sports. We'll introduce them to Princess Nine. They may like soap operas and you may like K-pop. Introduce them to Korean dramas. Whatever. Find something that they like and you like and build a bridge with it. That way, suddenly the things you've been stereotyped over become something that benefits them and helps them see the world in a different way. It really breaks stereotypes and helps people get to know you, and in a lot of cases, it helps you get to know other people. Okay, gang, there you have it. So remember, Stereotype-Fu is using the very thing that limits us as a tool to free us. the stereotypes we face as geeks. It's about owning our image, deciding how we're going to look, how we're going to be portrayed, and how we define ourselves. It's about evolving how people treat us, to help them see us differently, and help us see ourselves differently, and turn these stereotypes about geeks into something positive. And it's also highly enjoyable to turn negatives to positives, and thus a guilty pleasure, so we can just really enjoy the fact that things that we may have once worried about being defined as become a source of pride. But that's a very geeky thing to do. There you have it, some techniques to take those moments you get stereotyped and actually turn them around so they're to your advantage. In a few cases, maybe make some new friends or give people something to think about. I hope they help you out, and I'll see you online and in my next video log. Take care, everyone.